Hi, this is Theo from PuckerBlocks.com. Today I'm going to review the ARTISUL D10 pen display tablet. Now this is actually an external monitor that you can draw on. This competes directly with the Wacom Cintiq. And this is actually the second display that ARTISUL has made. The first display was called D13, and well, the main difference is the size, of course. D13 features a 13-inch screen and D10 a much smaller screen, so this is a bit more portable at 700 grams only. Now in this review, I'm going to show you the drawing features, how well it works with various drawing programs. I'm going to talk about the specifications. So without further ado, let's get started. The things included with this pen display are this wireless pen. This does not require any battery, 2 buttons on the side, and it supports 2048 levels of pressure sensitivity. Then we have this little thing here. When you open it up, you have 10 replacement nibs, and there's this hole here where you can put the pen here, tilt it, and pull out the nib to replace it. There is no stand for the pen included. The other two things that are included are the HDMI cable and the USB cable. These two will connect to the computer to power this display. So there is no cable for the power. So this display is powered only by the USB cable here. Currently this display is actually connected to my Windows tablet. So here is the USB port, and here I needed to use an adapter because I don't have a HDMI port on this tablet, so I needed the adapter. And this adapter is connected to the HDMI cable, which is then connected to the ARTISUL D10. So just 2 cables into the computer and 2 cables into the display. The main thing to note about the USB port is the USB port on your computer has to be powered because this display, it draws power from the USB port. Alright, let's talk about the specifications and the physical design. It feels very sturdy. I like the rounded edges. On the side we have 6 physical shortcut buttons that you can customize. And if you are a left-handed user, you can actually just turn this around. Just change the settings to say that you are a left-handed user. There is a screen protector that has already been pasted over the screen. So this screen protector is not reflective. It's sort of like a matte screen surface with some very slight texture. But overall, the drawing experience over this, it still feels quite smooth, but it doesn't have that fake feeling when you are using plastic tip on a glass screen, that fake feeling. So this is slightly nicer, but the screen protector does affect the image quality slightly. Now let's take a look at the back. We have there's 2 big pieces of rubber to prevent it from slipping. This tablet is made in Taiwan. There's no stand included, so you can just put a tablet like this on the table, or you can get a stand. Actually, since I'm on the website, let me just show you the stand that you can buy. This is optional, but this is quite a good stand. So yes, so this is the stand that you can buy, and you basically just put this tablet onto the stand. There's no need to connect it or anything. This is quite nice. You can put it with your iPad or with your other Windows tablet as well. The screen of the D10 is 10 inches and the resolution is 1280 by 800. So it's not 1080p, but for a 10-inch screen, that resolution is quite good. It's sufficient enough. So the thing that bothered me is actually the brightness of this tablet. Now on the specification page, let me go to the specification to just check the brightness. It says that the brightness is 300 CD per M2. So that is actually the typical brightness of desktop monitors. However, when I'm looking at the screen right now, this is definitely not as bright compared to a desktop monitor. I mean, this is still very usable, but I find the specifications here questionable, at least the brightness, but yeah, this is still very usable. Other interesting things to note would be, well, this is an IPS panel, so the viewing angles are great, although it's still affected by the glare. You can see if I turn the tablet sideways, the colors, they don't change that much, but they are affected by the film protector and reflection. The contrast ratio is 700 to 1, which is satisfactory for a tablet. Response rate is 30 ms, so this is definitely not a gaming monitor. This is, by the way, best for drawing. You do not want to game on this type of screens. And the last important thing is it supports Windows and Mac. Before I go into the different drawing applications, I want to talk about the installation of the ARTISUL driver. Before you install the driver, make sure you uninstall other tablet drivers and also the WinTab driver, because ARTISUL's driver, they are going to install their own version of WinTab. So if you have WinTab already on your computer, then the two WinTabs, they are going to conflict. So it is best to use only the WinTab from ARTISUL's driver, which basically guarantees that it works with this pen. Once you install the driver, it's hidden here in this tiny arrow, in this tiny icon. So I'm going to click on that to show you what kind of calibrations and settings you can change. So let's click on the hotkeys. Well, actually I wanted to use my finger to tap on this, but this is not a touch screen. So for the physical shortcut keys here, you can customize different keyboard shortcuts if you want to. You can set your own keyboard shortcuts, or you can use the predefined shortcuts for different software like Photoshop, Illustrator, Clip Studio Paint, and Corel Painter. Yep. But if you want to create your own keyboard shortcuts, you can do so as well. Let's click the pen. Two buttons you can customize, and here is where you can set the pen pressure. So you can just drag it around. I think by default it's set to light. I prefer it to be a bit harder. And here you can change whether or not you are a left-handed user or right-handed user. Here, this is where you can test basically the pressure. All right. Now calibration is to basically calibrate your pen. So I'm going to calibrate my pen right now to show you exactly how it actually works. This is to prevent parallax when you are drawing. So basically just use the pen and click on the red dots that moves around and click OK. That's all. And this will try to prevent parallax. And I think that's all for the settings. Not much here. Now I'm going to use different drawing software. Let me start with Photoshop. This is Photoshop CS6 on Windows 10. The first thing I want to talk about is the size of the user interface. The buttons, they look small, and the menus, they are small as well, but this is still very usable. So let me create a new file. Alright, I have already set the shortcuts to this physical shortcut button. So this is a zoom in, this is a zoom out. Let me zoom in to 100%, and this is a brush. So once I click the button, you can see that there is this pop-up here. And let me pick a brush, and this is the brush. I'm going to increase the brush size and try and draw some strokes to let you see how well the pressure sensitivity works. The pen supports 2000 levels of pressure sensitivity, and it works quite well. Let's see if there's any lag. Now when I'm drawing, I don't feel that there is any lag. I think it's quite responsive. So not much lag at all. And let me try the pressure again. Very thin line and very thick line. Here's a close-up to let you see how smooth the curves are. Pressure sensitivity works quite well. The transition from thin to thick is quite smooth. Let me show you some cross-hatching lines. Alright, there are some weird effects when it comes to tapering. For example, take a look at this area here. Some of the lines, they taper quite sharply and then they become thin, and the taper is not gradual for some of the lines. Here you see that this is very gradual, but here it gets that sharp taper and then it becomes consistent. Same thing here, but all these three lines here, they are quite they taper quite nicely. So let me try that again with downward strokes. So you do see some weird tapering effects that affect some of the strokes. By the way, for this close-up, I have moved the Artisul D10 away from my window, so it may appear that the LCD screen is brighter and there is more contrast. So if you are using this in an environment that is quite bright, then the brightness of the screen will not be able to overpower the brightness of your environment. So I think it's best to work in a slightly dim environment and away from bright sources of light like the window. While there is a weird tapering effect to the strokes, it's usually not a problem unless you are someone who likes to draw strokes very fast, or you do a lot of cross-hatching at very fast speed, then that is going to be a problem. For example, now when I'm drawing at my usual speed, I don't really see that problem coming up. So this is what I can get. And now I'm using Adobe Illustrator CS6. By default, the brush inside Illustrator, it doesn't have any pressure sensitivity, so I need to turn that on here. Let me turn it. Alright, it's on. And let me show you the strokes again, so we can get thin and thick strokes very easily. Now with Illustrator, they will correct your strokes to make it a bit smoother, but I think the pen pressure, it works really well. I really enjoy using this on Illustrator. This is Medibank Paint Pro version 10. This is a very nice software because, well, it's free and it has a lot of drawing features dedicated to drawing manga. Now I'm just going to pick my brush again with the physical shortcut button here and try and increase the brush size here. And let me increase the canvas so that you can see properly. Zoom in and let me try that again with Medibank Paint. This software supports pressure as well. Let me zoom in again. And the strokes, they are very smooth. I like drawing with this app. That's really cool. This is also very responsive. The pressure works well too. The next software I want to use is Mischief. This is a very nice software for sketching because of its infinite canvas. So now I'm just going to draw some letters. Oops, it doesn't work. You can see that I have stray strokes. I actually wanted to draw the letter M like this. It supports pressure, so that's quite nice. Mischief. And here I wanted to draw the letter C, but the stroke, it came out straight. I wanted it to be something like this, like a C. Where you see here, it came out straight. So there is a problem with this software and the WinTap driver. I know that it's the WinTap driver because when I actually go and rename the WinTap driver, the software works perfectly. So now I'm going to basically turn this off to shut it down first and restart this. And you can see here I can't even close this, so I'm just going to use Control Alternate Delete to do that. Task Manager and end this task. I have a hack that I found online to basically turn the WinTap driver off, so I'm going to use that hack right now. Okay, now the WinTap driver is off. I'm going to relaunch Mischief again to basically draw what I wanted to draw just now. And now it works perfectly. And pressure works very well. And it's very smooth too. This is really nice software. So you can get hatching lines, thin and thick lines, very well. So that was actually a problem with the WinTap driver. So every time when I want to switch software, for example now if I want to switch back to Photoshop, I need to turn back WinTap because without WinTap Photoshop, the pressure doesn't work in Photoshop. I actually have other drawing software on Windows such as ArtRage, Sketchable, Wacom Bamboo Paper, Krita, Paint Tool Size, Sketchbook. They all work very well on the Artisul D10, so I'm not going to show you all that to save time. I just recalled something I want to talk about for the Mac. Now this is the USB cable that goes to Artisul D10. This goes to an adapter. This is a Thunderbolt adapter that goes to this thing here, and this is connected to the HDMI cable to the Artisul D10. For some reason, I wasn't able to get any video signal when I connected the HDMI cable to the HDMI port of my Mac Mini. So I have to connect it through this adapter to the Thunderbolt port. So strange thing. I'm not sure whether it is a problem with my Mac Mini or with the Artisul D10. This is Photoshop CS5 on the Mac. Pressure sensitivity works very well here. I can get thin and thick strokes very easily. Let me show you some cross-hatching lines. The strokes taper very gradually here. Very nice, very smooth. There are no weird tapering effects. So this is very good. There is not much lag, so this is very responsive when it comes to drawing, very enjoyable. And it's very accurate as well after you calibrate it to offset the parallax error. I have tried Mischief, Medibank Paint Pro, Affinity Designer. They all work very well with this Artisul D10. Affinity Photo, the brush, they have some anti-aliasing problem, but other than that it works fine too. The only issue I have is actually with Adobe Illustrator. This is CS5. Now if you were to install the Artisul driver, pressure sensitivity is not going to work by default. I contacted Artisul and they replied saying that I need to install Wacom Intools driver. So I did that. I installed the Wacom drivers together with the Artisul driver. So now there are two drivers on this computer, and after that I was able to get pressure sensitivity working. So now I'm going to do that demonstration for you. So now it works. So that's the only issue that I have, and it is with Adobe Illustrator. Overall, I'm quite satisfied with the drawing performance, the features of the Artisul D10 on both Windows and Mac. There are some glitches, but they are easy to work around. You can solve them very easily. So overall, it's not that big of a problem. Generally speaking, it's quite good. It does what it's supposed to do, and the retail price is $350 US, which I think is quite competitive. This is useful for those people who want to buy a tablet to draw on, who still want to use their computer operating system, like if you want to use Windows or Mac, but you don't want to buy a separate tablet like an iPad or Windows 10 tablet by itself. I think this can be a good device for you. That's all for today's review. If you have any questions, feel free to post them in the comment section below. I will also post a link to my text review of the Artisul D10. In case there are any updates, I will update that in the text review. Thank you for watching. I hope this review has been helpful to you, and see you in the next video. Bye!